Welcome, welcome to today's Agent Power Huddle. We have the amazing Laura Rose with us. She is an agent out in Westminster, California, which is near Anaheim, if no one is sure all of how California is. But we're excited to have Laura here with us again. And today we are going to be talking about something that is near and dear to your heart. I know we were talking earlier, geofarming.
Okay,
That work?
let's do it. Yeah. I'm like, I've got a couple of expert subjects, so let's do geofarming.
All right.
It's good.
That's exciting. Well, welcome to the call. We're excited you're here.
Thank you.
So, you know, learning about geofarming and just getting information about it. We haven't really done a lot of it in our office, but so I'm interested, like, how did you first choose your first area that you farm?
So, for me, probably similarly to other people that decide to geofarm, I did select the area that I lived in. But there was deeper reasons for that. I grew up in that same area. So I am not like a transplant coming from somewhere else. I um, my parents stayed in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. And then when my husband and I got engaged and we're going to get married, we came back and we bought a house in a neighboring neighborhood. And growing up, my dad had always bought rental properties. So I had kind of always been around and interested in and aware of real estate, as a child. And their realtor was a geofarmer. And so that was something that I was always like super familiar with. I didn't know the term, I didn't know it was. And then when I decided to sell real estate full time, the office that I joined had this small group that was starting, and it was a marketing mastermind group. It was a marketing class. I don't know what you want to call it. It had like a name, and it was a top producing agent that was teaching it. And they were like, you would be really good for that, And the agent that was teaching it was like very no nonsense. She was kind of like hey, we're gonna meet every week. If you're late, I'm locking the door. If I'm gonna give you homework. If you don't do it, you get kicked out. So I was like, whoa, this is like really serious. And she was a geo farmer. And so then that really sort of like brought it all 100% full circle. That was like, that's how I'm going to pursue my business, rather than like calling my friends and family, or pursuing like cold calling or other like cold methods of lead generation. That was something that, because I watched my parents like repeatedly use the same person for all these different transactions that were local to Orange County. So that was pretty much the inspiration for it. And then with my marketing background, of course, I did a SWOT analysis for the year before I started doing real estate. I started analyzing like who was I getting advertised from as a homeowner. So I kind of knew who the players were, made some mistakes, which we can talk about, But yeah, that was it. That was how I landed there. Never looked back.
I've never looked back. I love that. Okay, you said so much. But I do. What were some of those mistakes that you made? I mean, what could an agent starting out avoid that you learned the hard way?
I think that like right now would be a really kind of an almost a repeat of one of the key mistakes that I made. I didn't look when I was analyzing the area and looking for competitors and who those competitors might be. I didn't understand that when I was starting, we were coming out of a down market. And so there were agents that were, now I'm not saying that any of us have seen what we saw back then, because what I'm talking about is the after effects of 2008. But what we are seeing is we are seeing less transactions, and we are seeing agents that, might be doing the work, but aren't getting the transactions because sellers aren't transacting as often as they were or would be. There's a lot of people that feel kind of trapped in their homes in their low interest rates. And I think that that may change if we have some like positive movement. I think that we all have listened to the experts. We've all felt it. We've all had the conversations with people that are like, where would I go? Like, why am I I'm just going to add on. How many people have walked around their neighborhoods and seen like construction happening, but not a lot of people moving. So that was kind of like a mistake number one, because when I started, I thought that I had like really understood the competition, and I didn't really understand the competition because I didn't understand that, I should have gone back like 7 years. I should have looked at it at an aggregate. So I actually really think that like the experts that are giving advice, looking at numbers now, that are doing like a 3-year average before COVID, like they're giving people sort of this context of like, hey, we've been in kind of like a crazy market. I think that that is a lot smarter. So that would be like mistake number one. Because like if you judged any agent's transaction or activities based off of their transaction volume in the last 48 or like 24 months, maybe more than that, like, 3 years, 2 years, definitely 2 years, it would give you a skewed view on like, are they really working in a particular area?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you're looking at an area and you're trying to figure out like, is there a dominant agent? You need to go back a little bit further.
Okay. Oh, all right. I love that advice. That's super helpful. So what kind of marketing do you do for your farm? How do you reach out? What is effective for you getting out to your farm?
So the one thing that I would tell people about a GeoFarm is that they're probably not hearing is they're probably hearing like, you can effectively geographic farm and have a successful business with a much smaller farm than you really can. And that was advice that I was given and taught from the beginning, and it was really helpful because it was basically like, hey, how much the better way to look at it if you're going to be a geo farmer is start with how much money you want to make. Like, figure out how much money you want to make. Figure out what that is going to look like based off of the GCI of your market. So like, what's the average commission you think you're going to charge? What and make and get people to agree to? What does that look like on a per transaction basis? And then what does that look like? And don't assume that when you start geographic farming that you're going to be able to get like 90%. It's like, no, like maybe 50% of a market is going to go to people that are actually actively advertising to it. And then is there a dominant agent that you're going to start competing with? Because, like 50% of the people are going to use their uncle or their sister's dog's cat's neighbor. There's going to be people that don't like you, so they're not going to use you, right? Not everybody's going to like you. And if you are marketing to an area that is being marketed to heavily by other agents, if there's another person that has some market share, you're picking an uphill battle. So that's I think I answered the question.
We've given us so much information. How
Oh, you asked me, what do I do? What do I put out? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's number one, is like picking your farm is like the first thing that you need to do. And then don't be afraid to pick a larger farm. Like, I see a lot of people that say, oh, I'm a geo farmer, and they're farming 200 homes. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, like you must not want to make a lot of money then. So you're going to have a lot more funnels than if you have like a larger farm area. So that's like the first thing. When I first started, I thought I was going to farm a lot smaller area, and people that were teaching me were like, yeah, no, that's bigger. You got to go bigger. You got to think bigger, you know? The next thing is you have to be ready to commit. You have to be ready to commit to a community. Because, I kind of look at it as I've adopted this area. I've adopted these people. I've adopted them as my community, as my neighbors, as my friends. And so a big part of geographic farming in a successful way is really caring about the area that you live in. So if you're only picking an area because it has high turnover rate and you don't really care anything about it, well, guess what? You're going to get even less market share than that because they work with people that they like, they work with people that care about the things that they care about, and people care about their communities. They do, bottom line. So that's like advice number two. Well, I could keep it going.
Why you keep going? Keep going. This is amazing. So, so what is an average farm? 200 people is not enough, but
Yeah.
I think what 2,000 is that too much? I mean, what's
Yeah, I think that like honestly, like that's probably like where most people should start. I
okay?
think that people are farming like way smaller areas. Now, maybe you live in an area where you have less agents and you have less competition, and then then you can do that. Again, it all comes down to math. This is where like the analytical side of me really comes at an advantage because it's kind of like the contractor. It's like measure twice, cut once, that sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
like analyze 10 times, start advertising once, like take the time to plan this out, then you won't be disappointed. It's proper planning prevents poor performance. That's bottom line. Like, becoming a geographic farmer, it becomes part of you.
I love that. It's like a passion.
100%. 100%. I don't do anything that I don't like to do. And I think that that's one of like the things. Like you're probably never going to see me really excelling at cold calling. I hate it. When I was 18, I worked for a high risk mortgage company doing cold calling. It was awful. It was the worst job I ever had in my life.
Don't want to do that.
No.
That's so cool. So,
Okay.
take us through what you do for your farm. What are the steps like?
So one of the things that I will always tell people that are starting to plan to and this is based off of some of the mistakes that I made, is plan out 18 months of marketing. Plan it out. Doesn't mean you have to order it, but plan it out. And then actually do the graphics for at least 6 months of it. Because one of the things that's going to happen is you start doing these activities. And as you do the activities, eventually the work is going to come. And that was really kind of like a big mistake for me in the beginning. And it was sort of an aha one moment where, I had done a bunch of marketing. So then I got some transactions and then I had kind of stopped doing the marketing because I'm doing it myself. And then I would get slow again because the transactions would close. And then I would start doing the marketing. And when I was doing the marketing, people were like, wow, you're so busy. You're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm like, I am slow right now. What are you talking about? So it's all about perception. So the lesson there is that if you're gonna be a geographic farmer, if you're gonna market to people, you have to do it in a consistent way. And the best hack for that is pre-plan. Do that stuff when you're slow. Do that stuff before you start becoming a geographic farmer. That's the best hack. Also find a printer that is a wholesale printer. Somebody that is going to print to large amounts. Your stuff is going to get cheaper. If you're a farmer, you're going to be printing a lot and be spending a lot of money on printing. So, the more that you're ordering from this printer, they're going to be, loyal to you.
Makes sense. That's a good idea. So you're sending things out every couple of weeks, every month.
So that's another thing that, I have kind of like struggled with, and now I'm in the place where I'm really comfortable where I'm at with what I'm sending out. So I create a plan in the beginning of the year, create a marketing plan for what I'm going to be sending out to people. And then there's additions to that. So for me, I do a monthly newsletter. Now, the newsletter didn't start monthly because it wasn't something I could commit to. It started quarterly and then it increased. So that was just something that I had to personally do. But you may, whatever you're going to start doing it, make sure that you can do it and do it consistently over time, because that's where the success happens in a geographic farm. So I've got the newsletter. Now, why the newsletter? Well, the newsletter has staying power, right? And I make sure that it's hyper local. So I'm not just like pulling like an auto generated newsletter. There's lots of companies that will charge you lots of money for that. But if you don't have any transactions, then write your own newsletter. Stuff that's relevant. Give people relevant information about their market. Give them, don't talk about the national news. They can see that on Channel 4 at 6 o'clock every night. Well, Channel 4 by me, it might be Channel 22 by you. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You know, things that are hyper local to them, things that show your personality. Give them the stats too. People want the stats. They want to know what's happening. If you're a homeowner, you stay vigilant about what your house is worth, even if you have no plans on selling it. So that's something. Then I do a lot of community events. So then the invitations to the community events are a marketing piece. And then layered on top of that for myself is just listed, just sold. It's evidence of your ability to do your job, what you're trying to get people to hire you to do. And I didn't understand that as a new agent. I used to be like, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. Your little sold signs on the post of the yard sign, they matter. People pay attention to those. It's amazing. If you don't put up a sold sign on your post, it's amazing how many people don't know that the house sold. They are not checking Zillow. They are walking their dog, seeing what's going on in their neighborhood. Take the 10 minutes, go by your listing, put the sold sign up, even if it's only up there for a few days.
It's proving your success. I said I could do this.
I asked you to hire me to do this. Your neighbor hired me to do this. And now I'm showing you, look at what I did.
Yeah. I like that. So your community events, what type of community events do you do specifically for your farm? Do you different ones for the community? And is it all your community events basically for your farm?
So I combo them. I invite all of my sphere and my past clients and my friends and family to all of my community events. And then I obviously invite the community. And so I'm well known for them. This goes back to only do things that you love. And for me, one of them started because a friend was also starting her business, and we got together and we were like, hey, let's do this, and now we're doing our 13th one this year, and she has moved out of the area and left the event, and I have somebody else that I do it with, and that's our annual Santa event. And it has gone from a very small event to a very large event over the years. And that's the other thing that's really great, is that things can like change and nowadays, gosh, I mean, there are so many Facebook groups, and just go on Etsy and there's all these people that are just creating stuff for realtors, and, just Google realtor/pop buy, and almost anything is going to give you a pop buy. You can turn that into an event, like not kidding you. So that there's so many ideas out there. What I would say is whatever you do, something that you like, something that you love. Just like if you were doing a wedding, you gotta give enough time to get those save the dates out, right? So maybe not as long as a wedding save the date. Like don't send out a save the date 6 months in advance, but you need 6 to 8 weeks to be properly inviting your people and make sure that you wind up with a guest list that are going to show up. And yeah. So I only do things that I really like, that I really enjoy, things that I want to see in my community. And so I would encourage people to be creative in their communities and things that they like. Like I'm not a garage sale person. I'm not. So I've always joked with people. I used to think it was because I'm not a morning person. That's not true. I do an event once a month that I leave my house at 6:30 in the morning and it starts at 7:30 in the morning. So it's nonsense that I'm not a morning person. And I love that event, you know? So it's just not my thing. Maybe it'll be my thing someday. Who knows? I'm not saying no to anything. But I used to tell people like, you'll know I hired someone when there's, Laura Rose Homes garage sales.
So basically, be authentic to yourself. People can tell if you're just doing the motions or if it's really something you care about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like going to volunteer, because you think that you're going to meet people that are going to wind up, using you for whatever your business is. That's not authentic. If you happen to meet people that you connect with and they know what you do and then they hire you, great, gravy. But, I mean, unless you're joining like a business networking where that's the intention. But I think a lot of people join like volunteer things thinking that they're going to network with people and then they're disappointed by the results.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, what do you use? Do you have any kind of specific tools or like a CRM or something that you use to keep track of your farm, to keep track of your marketing? How do you kind of step that up?
Yeah, so I mean, like good old pen and paper. Like one of my favorite things is this 3-month calendar that I can tear off. Found it on Amazon. Fabulous. So it hangs next to me. My Google, my phone. So creating meeting invites for myself. Knowing that. And the between like a digital calendar and a print calendar, that's how I kind of keep track of what is happening. Plus, obviously, I put it into my business planning every single year. So, we're coming in, it's in November. Hopefully, everybody on this call has already done their business planning for 2025. I typically start doing it in September, finishing it up in October, November, doing some fine tuning to it. I'm also a really big fan of planning by quarter. So, what is the book? There's a book. You might know the book. 12-week year. The 12-week year.
Yeah,
Loved that book. Absolutely loved that book and have listened to it multiple times. I'm not a big reader of those books, but I like to listen to them on Audible. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because it's kind of like if you don't hit your goals, then you get like a fresh start. So like every quarter is its own year and it increases. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend that. Um, and that's a good way to kind of like narrow in. That's what I took out of it.
okay. That's awesome. So we're coming up on the end of the show today, but
Are there any questions from the audience that
I want us to tell you have any questions?
anybody, anything that we want us to touch on? I've been a GeoFarmer for since I started, and I am in my 13th year. So,
You are the pro.
and I would say 95% of my business comes from my GeoFarm. The other thing that is a benefit that people don't necessarily realize is that like your people that live in your farm will take you outside of your farm. So, they own properties in other areas. They have friends and family in other areas. Your source of business still ties back to your farm. But yeah, I am so grateful for like the fact that the people in my community sort of understood that I was like really genuine and caring about the community. And so they care about me right back.
It goes back to that authenticity that, I mean, it's something you truly care about. People can feel that. I mean, we all know when somebody is faking it or when they're real, when it's real.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think one of the benefits of doing an area that you work, especially if you're a homeowner, not all realtors are homeowners, but if you are a homeowner and you do start marketing the area that you live in, like everything that you do has a direct impact on your own value. So you really are tied in to like the outcome. You're really tied into the outcome of things. It's where you live, it's where you raise your family, it's where you walk your dog, it's where you sleep at night. It's where your largest asset is, likely your largest asset. So yeah, like, and that ties into it because people understand, like, yeah, you really care. A lot of people that farm areas, they don't live and they lose a little bit from now. Again, some people are not going to care about that, but some people are going to, and not everyone's going to hire you. And that's the other thing. You can't get upset when somebody doesn't hire you. It's okay. They're just not your people.
Yeah. You want to work with who resonates with you. You guys get along. I mean, if it's somebody totally opposite and not a good fit, it's probably not going to be a very happy transaction.
Yeah. Take your energy and focus on something else. You lose a listing, learn from it. Lose an interview, whatever, learn from it. Not saying that you shouldn't, take a moment, figure out why they didn't hire you or why did they not call you to begin with. You weren't even included. Like, okay, all right, move on. Spend your time with the people that haven't hired somebody yet. Spend your time with the people that do engage with you. Take care of those people.
That's awesome. Well, Laura, this has been amazing. I've learned so much about geofarming. I can tell that it is something you are passionate about. So that's amazing. So just so everybody knows, we do have Laura back with us next week. And Jesse will be here. He's out today, so you got me.
Internet.
Yeah, no internet for Jesse. But we really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week on December 3rd. That's when Laura's back with us. And yeah.
If you want to connect with me, I'm at Laura Rose Homes across all platforms. So if you want to, feel free to connect with me there. You can DM me. I'm very easy to find, as most realtors should be.
Yeah.
Don't be a secret agent. So yeah, you can find me, and I'm always open to talk and connect. And I'm in Orange County. Westminster is on the border of Seal Beach and Huntington Beach. So I'm coastal Orange County, just kind of like help people understand where I am. Southern California, not Orange County, New York or whatever. I think there's Orange County in New York.
Okay, I was helping somebody in Florida and they're talking about Hollywood and they've said, well, that's not the same Hollywood.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, where are we?
Yeah. Let's learn where we are. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Laura. And I hope you have a great holiday weekend and everybody else on this, has a great holiday. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Otto.
Okay.
Alrighty. Bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.